The Kingdom of Mossi, nestled in the heart of West Africa, represents an enigmatic chapter in the annals of African history. Located primarily within present-day Burkina Faso, with extensions into neighboring territories, the Mossi Kingdom is emblematic of the region's rich cultural tapestry and historical complexity. Its emergence and evolution intertwine with the broader narratives of African statecraft, resilience, and identity formation. The Mossi people, renowned for their warrior ethos, agricultural ingenuity, and intricate social structures, have left an indelible mark on the landscape of West Africa. Rooted in centuries-old traditions and fortified by a profound sense of community, the Kingdom of Mossi stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of its people and the dynamic interplay between tradition and innovation. The pre-colonial landscape of the Mossi Kingdom is characterized by a mosaic of diverse ethnic groups, each contributing to the cultural, political, and economic fabric of the region. Situated in the savanna grasslands of West Africa, the Mossi territory encompassed fertile plains, river valleys, and strategic trade routes, fostering vibrant exchanges and interactions among neighboring communities. Before the consolidation of Mossi hegemony, the region was inhabited by various ethnic groups, including the Gurma, Yars, and Bois peoples, among others. These groups maintained distinct cultural traditions, social structures, and modes of subsistence, often organized around kinship ties, religious beliefs, and territorial affiliations. The pre-colonial landscape was characterized by a complex tapestry of interethnic relations, trade networks, and shifting alliances, shaped by factors such as environmental dynamics, economic imperatives, and political aspirations. Resource distribution, agricultural practices, and patterns of migration played pivotal roles in shaping the socio-economic dynamics of the region, laying the groundwork for the emergence of centralized polities and territorial empires. The emergence of Mossi identity is intricately intertwined with the processes of migration, settlement, and cultural exchange that characterized the pre-colonial era. The Mossi people trace their ancestry to a legendary figure known as Ndega, who is revered as the progenitor of the Mossi royal lineage. According to oral traditions, Ndega led his followers on a series of migrations from the east, eventually settling in the fertile plains of the Volta River basin. As the Mossi population expanded and diversified, the contours of Mossi identity began to take shape, forged through shared experiences, linguistic affinities, and cultural practices. The Mossi language, served as a unifying force, facilitating communication and social cohesion among disparate clans and lineages. Central to the consolidation of Mossi identity was the emergence of chieftaincies and royal lineages, which played instrumental roles in mediating disputes, coordinating collective action, and upholding customary law. The institution of chieftaincy served as a focal point for community solidarity and collective decision-making, embodying the principles of reciprocity, hierarchy, and obligation that underpinned Mossi social organization. The formation of Mossi Kingdoms represents a pivotal chapter in the evolution of West African statecraft, marked by processes of centralization, territorial expansion, and political consolidation. The Mossi territory was organized into a constellation of kingdoms, each ruled by a sovereign ruler known as an Aba. The establishment of Mossi Kingdoms was predicated on a combination of military conquest, diplomatic alliances, and administrative innovations, as rulers sought to assert their authority over neighboring territories and rival polities. Through a combination of military prowess and strategic alliances, Mossi rulers expanded their domains, incorporating diverse ethnic groups and assimilating local customs into the fabric of Mossi governance. Key among the Mossi kingdoms were the kingdoms of Tenkodogo, Yatenge, and Ouagadougou, each endowed with its own unique political traditions, economic networks, and cultural identities. The Naba, or king, served as the supreme authority within the kingdom, presiding over a council of elders, military commanders, and administrative officials tasked with managing the affairs of state. The governance and leadership structures within the Mossi kingdoms were characterized by a blend of traditional authority, centralized administration, and consensus-based decision-making. At the apex of Mossi society stood the Naba, or king, who wielded supreme authority over his subjects and territories. The Naba's legitimacy was rooted in a combination of lineage, divine sanction, and military prowess. Embodying the collective aspirations and historical destiny of the Mossi people, the Naba exercised executive, legislative, and judicial authority within the kingdom, presiding over a council of advisors, courtiers, and military commanders who assisted him in the governance of state affairs. The council, known as the Nabatenga, deliberated on matters of policy, justice, and diplomacy, serving as a forum for the resolution of disputes and the articulation of collective interests. Central to Mossi governance was the principle of consultation and consensus building, whereby decisions were reached through dialogue, negotiation, and consensus among key stakeholders. The Naba relied on the wisdom of his elders, the loyalty of his warriors, and the support of his subjects to maintain stability and order within the kingdom, fostering a sense of mutual obligation and collective responsibility among the populace. The administrative frameworks of Mossi Kingdoms were characterized by a hierarchical division of labor, with officials appointed to oversee various aspects of governance, taxation, and public administration. At the local level, village chiefs, known as tindanas, served as intermediaries between the Naba and the rural population, administering justice, collecting taxes, and enforcing customary law within their jurisdictions. Above the village chiefs were provincial governors, appointed by the Naba to oversee multiple villages and districts within a designated administrative region. The governors, known as Yamnaba, exercised delegated authority on behalf of the Naba, coordinating agricultural production, maintaining public order, and representing the interests of the central government at the local level. At the apex of the administrative hierarchy stood the Nabis Court, a complex bureaucracy composed of ministers, scribes, and tax collectors responsible for managing the affairs of state. The court oversaw the collection of tribute, the distribution of land, and the adjudication of legal disputes, ensuring the smooth functioning of Mossi society and the equitable distribution of resources among its members. Military prowess and strategic alliances played a central role in Mossi statecraft, as rulers sought to defend their territories, expand their influence, and assert their authority over rival polities. The Mossi armies, composed of professional warriors and levied conscripts, were renowned for their discipline, courage, and tactical ingenuity, employing a variety of weapons, tactics, and formations to achieve victory on the battlefield. Military alliances were forged through marriage alliances, tribute payments, and diplomatic negotiations, as rulers sought to secure their borders, deter aggression, and project power beyond their domains. Allied states provided mutual support in times of war, sharing intelligence, coordinating military campaigns, and pooling resources to confront common adversaries. Key among the military strategies employed by Mossi rulers were defensive fortifications, strategic alliances, and preemptive strikes against potential threats. The construction of fortified settlements, known as Tatasambo, provided refuge for civilian populations during times of conflict, while serving as bastions of resistance against external aggression. Religion and spiritual beliefs held a central place in the cultural landscape of the Mossi Kingdoms, shaping the worldview, moral values, and social practices of its inhabitants. The religious traditions of the Mossi were characterized by a syncretic blend of animism, ancestor veneration, and Islamic influences, reflecting the diverse cultural heritage and historical encounters that shaped Mossi identity. At the heart of Mossi religious beliefs was the veneration of ancestral spirits, known as Binta, who were believed to exert influence over the fortunes of the living and the prosperity of the kingdom. Ancestor worship formed the cornerstone of Mossi spirituality, as individuals sought to maintain harmonious relations with their forebears through offerings, rituals, and prayers. Alongside indigenous religious practices, Islam emerged as a significant religious force within the Mossi Kingdoms, introduced through trans-Saharan trade routes and cultural exchanges with Muslim merchants and scholars. Islamic beliefs and rituals permeated Mossi society, influencing aspects of daily life, language, and social organization. While coexisting alongside traditional spiritual practices, art, music, and oral tradition flourished within the cultural milieu of the Mossi Kingdoms, serving as expressions of collective identity, historical memory, and social cohesion. Artistic traditions encompassed a diverse array of mediums, including sculpture, pottery, weaving, and metalworking, each reflecting the ingenuity, aesthetic sensibilities, and cultural heritage of the Mossi people. Sculpture played a prominent role in Mossi artistic expression, with artisans crafting wooden masks, figurines, and ceremonial objects imbued with symbolic meaning and spiritual significance. These artworks served as conduits for ancestral spirits, mediators of divine power, and repositories of cultural wisdom, enriching the ritual life and communal bonds of Mossi society. Music and dance were integral components of Mossi cultural expression, providing avenues for collective celebration, spiritual communion, and artistic innovation. Drumming, chanting, and rhythmic movement infused Mossi ceremonies and festivals with vitality and rhythm, uniting participants in a shared experience of joy, transcendence, and communal belonging. Oral tradition played a vital role in the preservation and transmission of Mossi history, folklore, and moral teachings, as griots, or oral historians, passed down stories, legends, and genealogies from generation to generation. Through the art of storytelling, griots preserved the memory of past events, celebrated the deeds of heroic figures, and imparted lessons of wisdom and resilience to future generations. Social hierarchies and gender dynamics were intricately woven into the fabric of Mossi society, shaping patterns of authority, privilege, and social mobility within the kingdom. Mossi society was organized along hierarchical lines, with the Naba and his court occupying the apex of the social order, followed by nobles, commoners, and slaves, each endowed with distinct rights, obligations, and privileges. Gender roles were defined by a division of labor and responsibilities, with men typically engaged in activities such as agriculture, hunting, and warfare, while women assumed primary responsibility for domestic chores, child rearing, and artisanal production. Despite these divisions, women played vital roles in Mossi society, serving as economic producers, community leaders, and custodians of cultural knowledge and traditions. While patriarchal norms prevailed within Mossi society, women exercised agency and influence within their households and communities, participating in decision-making processes, spiritual ceremonies, and social networks that sustained the fabric of Mossi life. Over time, the dynamics of gender relations evolved in response to changing social, economic, and political conditions, reflecting the complex interplay of tradition, innovation, and adaptation within Mossi culture. The Mossi Kingdoms were active participants in extensive trade networks that crisscrossed West Africa, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices across regional boundaries. Situated at the crossroads of trans-Saharan trade routes, the Mossi territories served as vital conduits for the movement of commodities such as gold, salt, ivory, and slaves, linking the savanna hinterlands with the markets of North Africa and the Mediterranean world. Trade played a central role in Mossi economy and society, driving agricultural production, stimulating artisanal craftsmanship, and fueling the growth of urban centers such as Ouagadougou, Tenkodogo, and Yatenga. The Mossi Kingdoms cultivated strategic alliances with neighboring polities and trading partners, leveraging their geographical position and economic resources to enhance their wealth, prestige, and influence within the region. The integration of Mossi economies into wider commercial networks facilitated the diffusion of Islamic culture, technology, and commercial practices, enriching Mossi society with new ideas, innovations, and modes of production. While trade brought prosperity and cultural exchange, it also exposed Mossi Kingdoms to external vulnerabilities, as they became increasingly dependent on imported goods and reliant on external markets for their economic sustenance. The arrival of European colonial powers in West Africa heralded a period of profound transformation and upheaval for the Mossi Kingdoms, as they confronted the encroachment of foreign domination, military conquest, and economic exploitation. From the late 19th century onwards, French colonial forces embarked on a campaign of territorial expansion and political subjugation. Seeking to assert their authority over the indigenous peoples of the region, the Mossi Kingdoms, with their rich agricultural resources and strategic location, became prime targets for colonial annexation. As French administrators sought to integrate the region into their expanding empire and extract its wealth for the benefit of the metropole, through a combination of military force, diplomatic coercion, and administrative reorganization, French colonial authorities imposed their hegemony over the Mossi territories, dismantling traditional institutions of governance and imposing new systems of taxation, labor, and land tenure. The colonial encounter precipitated profound social dislocation, economic disruption, and cultural upheaval within Mossi society, as indigenous elites grappled with the erosion of their authority, the alienation of their lands, and the imposition of foreign laws and customs. Resistance to colonial rule took various forms, ranging from armed rebellion and religious revivalism to diplomatic negotiations and legal challenges. As Mossi leaders sought to preserve their autonomy, dignity, and cultural integrity in the face of overwhelming odds, the legacy of Mossi resistance to colonial rule endures as a testament to the resilience, resourcefulness, and indomitable spirit of its people, who resisted foreign domination through acts of defiance, solidarity, and collective action. Despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, Mossi leaders such as Yanenga, Nabakango, and Nabazombi rallied their subjects in defense of their ancestral lands and cultural heritage, inspiring subsequent generations to uphold the legacy of resistance and self-determination. In the aftermath of colonial rule, Mossi societies grappled with the challenges of post-independence nation-building, economic development, and cultural revitalization, as they sought to reconcile the legacies of the past with the imperatives of the present. Through a process of cultural renewal and political mobilization, Mossi communities have sought to reclaim their cultural heritage, revitalize traditional institutions, and assert their rightful place within the modern nation-states of West Africa. The decline of the Mossi Kingdoms was precipitated by a confluence of internal challenges and external pressures that undermined the stability, cohesion, and resilience of Mossi society. Internally, the fragmentation of political authority, succession disputes, and social unrest eroded the legitimacy and effectiveness of Mossi rulers, weakening the bonds of solidarity and mutual obligation that had sustained the kingdom for centuries. Externally, the encroachment of European colonial powers, the disruption of trade networks, and the spread of infectious diseases posed existential threats to the survival of the Mossi Kingdoms, exposing their vulnerabilities and exacerbating existing divisions within Mossi society. French colonial rule, in particular, imposed new forms of taxation, labor exploitation, and cultural assimilation that eroded the autonomy and dignity of Mossi communities, relegating them to the status of subjects within a larger imperial apparatus. Despite the decline of political authority and territorial sovereignty, the cultural legacy of the Mossi Kingdoms endures as a testament to the resilience, creativity, and ingenuity of its people. The cultural heritage of the Mossi, embodied in their religious beliefs, artistic expressions, and social customs, continues to inspire and enrich contemporary Burkina Faso and the wider African diaspora, serving as a source of pride, identity, and belonging for successive generations of Mossi descendants. The enduring significance of Mossi culture lies in its ability to adapt, evolve, and thrive in the face of adversity, transforming moments of crisis and upheaval into opportunities for renewal, regeneration, and cultural revival. Through a process of cultural reclamation and historical rediscovery, Mossi communities have sought to reclaim their ancestral traditions, celebrate their cultural heritage, and affirm their place within the modern nation-state of Burkina Faso. In contemporary Burkina Faso, the legacy of the Mossi Kingdoms continues to resonate within the collective consciousness of its people, informing debates on national identity, social justice, and political empowerment. The struggles and sacrifices of Mossi leaders such as Yanenga, Nabakango, and Nabazombi serve as symbols of resistance and resilience, inspiring citizens to confront injustice, inequality, and oppression in all its forms. Contemporary reflections on the Mossi Kingdoms underscore the enduring relevance of their historical legacy in shaping contemporary understandings of African history, governance, and cultural diversity. By reclaiming their cultural heritage and asserting their rights to self-determination, Mossi communities affirm their intrinsic worth, dignity, and agency as custodians of a proud and illustrious tradition that spans generations. In conclusion, the Kingdom of Mossi stands as a testament to the resilience, creativity, and cultural vibrancy of its people, who navigated the currents of history with courage, dignity, and determination. From its origins as a confederation of tribal chieftaincies to its encounters with colonial powers and struggles for independence, the Mossi Kingdoms embody the complexities and contradictions of African statecraft, identity, and nation-building.